Welcome to IlliniGuys Pregame Live. This is Mike Kegley with Brad Sturdy, Kedrick Prince. We are going to talk a little bit about the upcoming game today with Rutgers. Brad, the first thing that people have asked us about is who is out for today for the Illini. Any thoughts, or want to go through the list for us? And
Yeah, I mean, Big Ten releases that, and you see Leon Lowry Jr. Obviously, we know about Xavier Scott, but Dylan Rosiak, that was one that hurts. And then on the depth side, you've got Desmond Schuster, and so it's not good to have them out. But if you lose players on the defensive side of the ball, does it make your defense worse? You know what I mean? Do you give up? What do you, instead of scoring on 7 of 8 possessions, they score on all 8? I mean, I don't know. So I know that sounds cynical, but I mean, maybe it's time to give some of those young guys a shot and see what happens.
On the flip side of it, though, we know Rutgers, we talked about this before we got on the air. They have a lot of guys out for this game. Brad, did you mention, how many, maybe 12?
24 guys. They have 24 guys out for this game or for the season.
Yeah. So this is, it's late in the season. It's November, and and the injuries are going to happen. And the coaches like to use the term "next man up." So we're going to see what that looks like for Illinois today.
Yeah, we will see that for sure. And of course, I guess the biggest discussion point that we have is, this is going to be the battle of two defenses that have been poor. So, like when I was a little kid, they had a comic book where Shazam, Captain Marvel, took on Superman, and it was the irresistible force versus the immovable object. Well, today it's the resistible force versus the movable object, and we're going to see which one of these defenses is less impressive. But I'm going to throw something at you, Brad. I'm going to say that when you look at who Rutgers has played, when you look at their overall defensive numbers and being a bad defense, they've given up some points to some teams that aren't the greatest offensive teams, and I would say Illinois' schedule was tougher than what Rutgers has. So maybe there's a little shred of hope that the Illinois defense has been, when you go up against Indiana, let's just say the Indiana-Oregon games offset each other. Illinois still has Ohio State. They still have USC. They still have Washington, and they can take Washington off of Rutgers. But I just think when you look at USC and Ohio State, those offenses are a little bit better than maybe Minnesota and Iowa.
Oh, I agree. And, I think the other side of it is too, also, both teams score the ball well. I mean, Rutgers scores 31 points a game, so they have a good offense. So that's going to challenge the Illinois defense regardless. But I do think that Illinois should be able to move the ball very well against this Rutgers defense. That should not be an issue. They've given up a ton of rushing yards as well. So being able to run the ball makes Brett Bielema happy. So I think that that's a good thing. If you go back, these guys here's their defensive numbers. They gave up 31 points to Ohio to start the season, but since the Big Ten started, it's 38, 31, 38, 56, and then 24 in their win over Purdue. So, yeah, I don't know. The other thing is they haven't – this is their and this kind of one of those things that wears on teams. This is their 4th consecutive week playing as well. And so that's something that can really hurt a team. And this is their 3rd road game in those 4 weeks, including trips to Washington, across the country, then to Purdue, and then to Illinois. So these are, it's a tough schedule. I think Illinois is in a good place to have a good day as long as they, execute and compete and do what they need to do.
Well, I'll tell you what, for me, Mike, I don't want to minimize what you said. I think Illinois has played some really good teams, really good offenses. But I think the big issue is with a lot of people, regardless if you're playing Ohio State, Indiana, or Washington, you got to get off the field sometimes. I mean, last week against Washington, it was just too easy. I mean, there was no pressure at all. So I think that part of it is huge, the teams that they're playing. But at some point you have to, and I know because I can assure you today, Rutgers is going to think that they're going to have all time in the world today to throw, but I do think and believe that you're going to see some different defensive packages today. I think you'll see some quarterback pressures today from Illinois. They're not going to sit back and let the number one passing team in the Big Ten just light them up. I hope they don't. I shouldn't say they won't, but I've heard that there's going to be some changes. And Brad is right. They've been all over the place. They're at home. But if you want to be a championship team, and they've had an opportunity to play in the college football playoffs, they blew that themselves. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the Washington game stinks to me, but I'm more disappointed in the Ohio State game because they were the team that scored the most points against Ohio State, but you put the ball on the 40-yard line, I think 3 or 4 times to the Buckeyes, so you kind of gave them that game. Can't look in the past, but you got to come out here and play and try to salvage the season still because you're playing for one of the best bowl games in the country still. So you can't come out and pretend that these games don't matter because Rutgers is trying to win just like everybody else.
Yeah, and I'll tell you my thoughts. Kalikmanis at quarterback, watching him both at Minnesota and at Rutgers, he is one of the craziest quarterbacks I can remember seeing because if you put him under pressure, he makes some unbelievably good plays and some unbelievably bad plays. The range that you get from him, like Luke Altmaier's, typically not going to make the really dumb play. He's going to, get rid of the ball, make sure he doesn't get the interception. If you look at Luke this year, 3 interceptions and 2 of them were off of Illini hands. But with Kalikmanis, I think you have to roll the dice and make him make great plays because he will make the bad one. And who knows, maybe with Daniel Brown playing today, maybe Illinois can get a little bit more of a pass rush, give the opposing team somebody else to block other than Gabe Akis.
Well, in theory, that would be good. It looks like James Kreutz and Malachi Hood will get the starts in place of Lowry and Gosiak. So, that would be expected. So we'll see. I don't know. I would. What to think about this Illinois defense? Like, I really don't know if there's if they can put pressure on him. Do they have to blitz? Can they blitz? Can they afford to blitz? I don't know. But he will make mistakes. He'll also make some great plays. The one thing is, I thought if we go back, I look at that USC game. I thought their quarterback made some really good plays under duress.
Unbelievable plays. Yep.
And I have not seen them actually make a quarterback do that since. It's been just go back there, sit back there for a month and decide what we're going to do. So I'd like to see more of that because I think if they do that, he'll make some mistakes that allow them to get a couple turnovers. And that's basically the only way that they're able to get stops, right? Is by getting a turnover.
I think they were kind of panicking. USC has really good receivers, and they didn't drop very many passes. I mean, you hear from everything from players missing assignments, they need to coach them differently. But you're right, it's been since the USC game. But in that game, like I just mentioned, there was great throws and some unbelievable catches. They didn't hardly drop any balls. Illinois was laying the wood to them. So maybe that's why. I just hope to see something different today, but you don't want to get burnt either doing it.
Yeah, the other thing you think about is Illinois. We don't probably talk enough about the offense. Of course, I wrote in Heat Checks and Hail Marys back in July all the records that where Altmaier had an opportunity to get to the very, very close to the top of Illinois all-time quarterback ratings and stuff. But, Luke is having a yet another incredible year, 15 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions, 2,020 yards. You have Hank Beatty, who is really kind of coming into his own and should be an all Big Ten player. And who knows what he's going to do the next 4 weeks here. Illinois' offense, we don't talk about it a lot, but they've been really effective as long as they're not forced to score every time they get the ball. Brad, your thoughts on this Illinois offense that really has kind of fallen by the wayside just because the team has lost 3 games?
Yeah, and they're good. This is a really good offense. I mean, you take out the Indiana game, and they've been pretty good offensively. Obviously, Ohio State, they scored points against Ohio State, which is something that teams haven't done consistently this year, right? And so nobody's done that. So it's been I don't know. I guess that the offense has kind of been, the saving grace for this program. Now, the question I have is, what with all that pressure on them, because they really have to continue to score, because they don't score, what happens? Well, then that the other team's going to score, and even if they get a field goal, there's so much pressure on that, on them to get a touchdown, because the other team's going to score so many points. So yeah, I think what they've done has been really impressive. I think Hank Beatty's been fantastic. I think Luke Altmaier's been fantastic. I think they need to get the running game going just a little bit to offset that. But what Ohio State, I think Illinois has the most points. I think they're the what's the most points? I think that's most points against Ohio State. So I get 16.
Yes,
Nobody else has scored double figures. And looking at their upcoming schedule, who's scoring double figures against that defense? Unless it's a pick six on the other way.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But here's the thing: Ohio State's defense is so good, their offense just kind of can go through. They don't have to take chances offensively. You know what I mean? Like, they're not. They have Penn State, they have Purdue, they have UCLA, Rutgers, and then the Michigan game. Of course, they'll probably lose that one, but just because it's Michigan. But yeah, what Illinois offense, they scored 16 points against Ohio State, which is probably more than anybody else the regular season is going to score. So that's impressive. And now they have to be just a competent defense. They don't have to be a great defense. They just have to be competent, and they'll be successful. They have a really good chance of winning the next 4 games.
I think the offense is great. I just think the defense have put them in bad situations where they become predictable. Last week, I think 1 or 2 of those interceptions wouldn't have been thrown. They know Washington, they knew Illinois had to get back in the game. They know who their go-to guy is. They all know that it's Hank Beatty. I'm going to tell you a guy today that I really want to see. I know you guys talk about the running game. I really want to see them use Cole Russ. The last 2-3 games, he has been outstanding. Mike and I have always been high on him, and, he's a fast target. He doesn't drop balls. And I've heard a number of press conferences this week from coaches talking about how well he's played, and, he's another option, with Dixon and Beatty. So I would like to see them throw the ball to him a little bit more, but the offense, I'm all in. I just think if you don't put them in situations where they're going to throw the ball, and they're going to throw a cross route to Hank where he has a chance to get hurt or pick it off. Now that's when Luke can become effective. But if they can get off the field and not trail like they have the last few games, I think the offense will look even better. They have the weapons. They have a great running game. Haven't been able to use it because it depends on if the offensive line is going to show up and open up holes.
Yeah, and I keep looking it back, and you look at this team, and you think the other thing I think I've been really impressed by was what is being done with Beatty in terms of using him in different combinations, and I'd like to see Barry Lundy Jr. continue that. Keep doing the occasional wildcat play. Keep doing let Hank unveil that golden arm that he threw with at Rochester. Give defenses something to think about, because if you give defenses just playing a half step slow, all of a sudden your running game, you've got a little bit of room for your guys. So I would like to see that, and I think this is a time for I don't know how
see
you guys
the
feel.
Illinois defense, Mike.
Exactly. My example would be the other thing I would like to see is look. This is the time for that offensive line that was highly touted coming into the season. You got 4 games to bully people and show what you can do. And look, I've said for years Illinois would love to become the equivalent of what Iowa and Wisconsin were, which is a 9-3, 10-2 team that occasionally can bump up and play with the big boys. And one of the things that you do if you want to become that is you have a year that may not be your greatest year, and you still end up 9-3. I think that's a total change in Illinois' ability to win, and I put that at the feet of Brett Bielema.
Yeah, no question. But here's the reality: everything falls on Bielema. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is, and I think he has to, find a way to make this work. Whatever you do, it all eventually it comes down to the head coach.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to see. He talked about last couple weeks about being hands-on, and he's not going to call the plays, but he'll have some input. I'm really curious to see if that's going to make a difference. But what you're going to hear, if the defense has changed today, the fans aren't going to care because it's not against Ohio State, Washington, or Indiana. That's just, and I get it. I understand that. But you still have to win. And you know what's impressive today, fellas, as well? They've had some disappointing losses, and fans they're heartbroken because the college playoff is probably out of the window, but it's still sold out. So that still tells you what the expectations are. The bar's been, the bar's higher. They expect to win, and if they go 9 wins, I mean, like when we started the show at the beginning of the season, a lot of us talked about maybe 9 wins. I know I did. I was the one guy that the schedule I thought was tough to begin with. I thought Ohio State be tough. I always thought Washington was a trap game. I was even concerned about Purdue, to tell you the truth, even though it wasn't an issue. So I think they've done well with the schedule. Things didn't work out. You've had injuries. You had, setbacks from, guys not blocking or guys missing assignment defensively. So I just think it's not been a bad season, and it's still a good team. I just don't think they're great. There's a difference between being elite and good and great.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. They're not great, I think, and I think that's ultimately the issue that you have to look at with Aaron Henry. I think he's got to do more with what he's got, and I think the other side of the coin is that if you're looking at NIL spending and trying to attract the best players, I think that Illinois also has a little bit of a gap to close there. I'm not saying that they're going to compete with Ohio State for everybody, but Illinois needs to increase the spend. If you want to take on a $35 to $40 million roster, you need more than $5 to $9 million. I know, Brad, you kind of are around campus and know a lot of the folks, but is there also an awareness that while the coaches have to get better, maybe the funding sources have to be a little more dramatically increased? Like we know Indiana went from like nothing to 35 million in 2 years.
Yeah, no, I think that's part of the gig, right? I mean, now it's the world has changed in college football, and now it's not just rev share; it's finding rev share and then finding money outside that you can get the best players for. And you're not going to be Ohio State, but can you be? You can compete on that next tier. I think that's the goal, right? To be at the second tier, because if you're at the second tier, then you have an opportunity to compete, and you're not going to beat Ohio State every year. You're not going to beat Michigan every year, things like that. Those teams that are going to pay more, but you can go out and beat the Minnesotas and the Purdues and compete with beat Iowa maybe, or Northwestern, et cetera. You win those games, and then you go out and compete against Ohio State, because you don't have to have the same exact payroll. I mean, but if you have Illinois competed okay with Ohio State, now give them a couple more difference makers.
Right
now, where are you at? Now you maybe they make a play and you get a pick, or you get you score another touchdown, whatever. It gives you an opportunity to compete in those games against those big teams. May not win all the time, but you're on the cusp.
Mike, I want to just changes here real quick. And I know everybody's upset with Aaron Henry. And I guess because they're not doing what they did in the past, I'm going to just say, and you guys may feel different, the talent level is different, fellas. I don't see a Devin Witherspoon on this roster. I don't see a Quan Martin on this roster. I mean, if you guys do, I would love to hear about it. Or a Kirby Joseph. I don't see them. And that's what made them great to begin with. So you could get pressure up front. You were able to do that. And Brad mentioned it last week. Brad, one of the things he's done well is he's always developed players. Well, this time it hasn't really happened. Matthew Bailey's one of those guys, but he's been hurt most of his career. So having said that, fans need to realize that they were great then because they had bona fide NFL talent in the secondary, and they don't have that right now.
Yeah, and I think you've got this. If you don't have the talent, then you've got to scheme ways to put players under pressure. And I think that's probably the frustration that I've had, is that we didn't. Ohio State at no point in that game did Sayin have to do anything out of the ordinary or out of his own rhythm, because he wasn't forced to do that. And I think we see a lot of times, if guys are out of, forced out of their rhythm, that's when you get the turnover. That's when you get the mistake. That's when you get the left tackle jumping off sides, moving, and you get the 5-yard penalty, so that a 3rd and 1 turns into a 3rd and 6, and then an incompletion, and then you're off the field. And I think that's probably the biggest frustration people have with the Illini defense right now, is they're not even schematically trying to put the pressure on to make somebody change what they're doing. I don't know what you guys think about that.
No, I think you're right. I think you're spot on, Mike. And I think that's the. I mean, there's so many things that go into being successful. It's not just like you can't just have great players. You can't just have great coaches. You can't just have it's all got to be a piece. It's got to be execution. It's got to be a whole fluid. It's a corporation almost. Like it all has to work together to make everything fit. And that's the same thing on offense, defense, whatever, special teams. Everything's got to work together. So yeah, I think you're spot on.
Well, hopefully that they can get this turned around. And you're right. It's a good assessment, Mike. They get it figured out today. I want to see them light the scoreboard up today, which I think they will. Rutgers doesn't have a good defense. I really want to see them make some change defensively, get some interceptions, show that there's life in the program. And it's not a secret, and we're not here, Illini guys, to try to get coaches fired or want coaches to get fired. But everybody knows the heat that's coming with the defensive coordinator happens all the time. I mean, because Brad Bielema came here to win championships, and you're not going to win championships if both sides of the ball aren't good. They have to be great. I look at, to be honest with you, I know this is the Illinois podcast, but if I look at the most complete team in the Big Ten, I think it's Indiana. I don't think Ohio State's offense is good enough, and I think Indiana's is, to get over the hump. So, but the reason I'm saying that is because to be great, you have to have good offense, good defense, and your special teams have to be on point. But the other thing is the depth. Injuries are going to happen this late in the season. You're probably going to see some guys out today because they're sore. I mean, they've been playing for a long time. So the depth is going to become an issue. Illinois' depth is now better than it has been in the last 20, 25 years, in my opinion.
Yeah, and as we kind of wrap up here, of course, folks, we'll be on IlliniGuys Halftime Live. We'll be on, and then we will do post-game show as well. So make sure that you tune in. The Halftime Live is on the IlliniGuys.com YouTube channel, and the post-game is on the STL Sports Central YouTube channel. So please tune in. You can get all Illini information right as it's happening. One last thing as we kind of wrap up here with just we got a few minutes left. Let's talk a little bit about Monday. There's something happening at the State Farm Center. Brad, pretty exciting. We got basketball season started off. Any news coming out of the basketball side for the opener?
Yeah, it doesn't. Mahalo Petrovic is out. Andrei Stojakovic is going to be a game time decision. I think those are the two. I think kind of the big news from that. And I think much of it is precautionary. They're just trying to make sure that everybody's good to go, because here's the reality. The game against Texas Tech is the big one, in this first couple of weeks, and then Alabama and so forth. So, obviously you'd like to get them some experience playing together, but at the same time, I think it's a good decision if they're not 100% to let them sit out this first game.
I'm going to echo that. I'd rather see them sit. They're going to win the game next week. They should win the game next week, and you don't need either one of those guys. And I would much rather see them sit now than, you get a 2-hour injury report that Stojakovic played, and then he's not playing in the Texas Tech game, or he has to miss 2 or 3 weeks. We saw that enough last year with Tommy being injured a few times. So the injury bug hit them. Kasparis was out. It's long term, and the schedule is not easy. Which is exciting. I mean, you look at a lot of the national guys, and they pick their top games. Illinois is on at least 3 or 4 of those guys' lists. So I like that. But at the end of the day, get them healthy so for sure. Because, I mean, Milo has been injured twice. He had an ankle, and hamstrings are tough, fellas. You guys both know that, and our listeners out there know that. You could make one wrong turn, and he's injured, and he's out for another month. I don't want to see that.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to see that. We want to make sure that he's using training methods that are a little more advanced than the Wheaties commercial or the Saturday Night Live commercial with the chocolate donuts and cigarettes. we definitely want to see that. I will tell you, I really think, and I know Illinois fans don't like Tom Izzo, but I think Brad Underwood has taken a page from what Izzo does. This is a brutal early schedule, but you're gonna be battle tested when you get time to tip off in the Big Ten.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, this is what you want, right? And I'm not trying to be. We're all excited to watch Jackson State, but are you excited to watch most of the? I mean, outside of Texas Tech, the big games, the Texas Techs, the Alabamas, the Tennessees, the Mizzou. Those are the games people want to see, right? In the non-conference, those are the games you want to see. You want to see the early non-conference a couple times, but then it's like, okay, I don't want to play, I don't know, Timbuktu State, who's ranked 350th on KenPom, and play them and beat them, 84-42, and go to that game. I mean, it's just not the same. So we want to see this competition. That's what the fans want, and that's what gets Illinois ready. Brad Underwood made a great point to me. He was talking about. He said, if you don't play a difficult non-conference, it gives you false hope, and you don't know what you're really made for when you get to Big Ten play. Because you think, oh yeah, we're good, we're 11-0 or something like that. Well, you may be, but who have you played? Who have you beaten? And you're not ready for what is the wars of the Big Ten.
Hey, real quick, I'm glad the schedule looks like that, but I want to see them win some of the games. Last year, they only beat Arkansas. I want to see them beat Texas Tech at home. I don't want to see them walk into the State Farm Center and win. I want to see them win in Chicago. You're not going to win them all, but at least 2 or 3 of those wins. And I'm going to tell you, UConn is scary good. I've watched them play. They are outstanding, and that's on a neutral court allegedly, but still, they need to win some of these games.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then one last thing, of course, we've seen all sorts of stuff off the field. You've got Louisiana governor trying to help hire a football coach and fire an athletic director. So Illinois fans, whether you like Pritzker, you don't like Pritzker, at least he's not trying to meddle in University of Illinois football or basketball. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, one thing is we do have a competent athletic director. I think that helps.
Exactly. Although that guy, I'm not saying he was competent or incompetent. He did get some national titles while he was there. So
yeah, that's true.
It's hard to say he was a total fool, but certainly the buyouts are crazy that we're seeing right now.
I mean, just throwing out. I mean, it's insane the amount of money. Evidently, there's a lot of money in the United States because they're throwing it all at football coaches.
Yes, I think the same thing. And then finally, it's going to be a weird weekend for people who have YouTube TV because you're going to have to buy the ESPN combined app that they have. I think it's ESPN, Hulu, and Disney, which will get you access on your TV to all the games that are on ESPN channels. Or you may not be watching a lot of college football this weekend. I think it's a very interesting timing. And folks, I was one of the people who said cutting the cord is insane because DirecTV gave such a good degree of service. And now I'm paying for YouTube TV and an ESPN app, and I have to have Peacock and Amazon Prime and this, that, and the other thing. I don't know. I think this time, I know everybody pines for the good old days, but I'd rather just have my DirecTV with every football game at my fingertips.
Give me one of those little cable boxes with an antenna on the top. I'm irritated. I have YouTube TV. My package didn't work, so I'm going to have to text you during the game to get that figured out because I thought my package would work because I have that Disney Plus Hulu package, and it's not working for me.
Yeah,
I always hate it when your package doesn't work. So they have a
What's up, Griff?
No,
we got one of our Illini guys contributors. He's probably wondering, like, am I going to be talking college basketball? And Griff, you got to clear your schedule on Illini games. It's very easy.
No, but they have so one thing I'll add to that, I think it's interesting that you see the ESPN guys trying to get you, hey, tell YouTube TV, because we're going to ask them for more money so we can get more money. So it's basically trying to convince you to go pay more money for yourself. I'm going to tell YouTube TV to get this so I can now pay more.
I'm not doing it. I don't really care.
Oh, heck no. It's like
the Big Ten game's not even on there.
It's crazy. I just don't. I don't know. This whole thing is just all. Think about how many streaming services you have
Price
now. It's just
gouging.
insane. It's
Like
so
I said,
insane.
it's crazy, and so I guess the advantage for young people is they can use their phone. They don't have to have a subscription based, a TV and a satellite dish, etc. So I get that part of it, but beyond that, this has not worked out at all. And I predicted a long time ago it's going to cost a lot more to watch TV than it does now, and sure enough, here we are. So I've got more streaming services than I can shake a stick at. So it's crazy. Any thoughts? Final prediction here on the game, Brad?
I think Illinois wins. Actually, looking at this, I think I picked Illinois 34-31. I think it was in our Illini guys picks, and I think they're going to win by more. I think they're going to win by a touchdown or more. So just because I've been kind of doing some more in-depth look at Rutgers and their schedule and what they've had to do over the past few weeks, and I think Illinois is going to have a good one and have a good win this week.
Well, I picked Illinois to win 41-21. I think they're going to score points, but I'm afraid that I think Rutgers may score more than 21. But I did pick Illinois to win today.
Yeah, I picked Illinois 42-28. I thought maybe Illinois could force some turnovers. I know I'm thinking of Kalimakis from his Minnesota days, but boy, he was good for at least a couple really painful ones. Looking at the crowd on TV, it does look a little bit sparse, but it is maybe it's a little bit chillier, and you've got some people slept in.
Well, and I think also you've probably got some people. It's another 11 a.m. start. It seems like they've cornered the market on 11 a.m. starts this year, but this is but I think 11 a.m. start, cold, coming off a loss. It's not surprising some people decided to maybe skip this one. You also got a lot of high school football playoffs going on today. Still got some playoff games they played last night. There's some of them playing today too. So a lot of other things going on. And when you go 5-3, you lose that game last week. It's not as much of a priority. If they win at Washington last week, a lot of those people would make it more of a priority to get there.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so you want to win, you want to be in contention. Bielema's turned this team around, and the only negative I think I see is that he's done a wonderful job at Illinois. But then when people see what happens when you get the money on day one in huge, vast amounts, and you're a good coach. That's why Indiana's been so successful. So Cignetti's kind of ruined it for everybody else.
Yes, he has.
Any other comments as we wrap up here, guys?
No, ILL.
Get the W.
All right, we will see you folks at halftime. So like I said, as soon as the game goes away, we'll be here. Please come on and join. We'll talk all Illinois stuff, so you don't have to look at all the national games and never hear a single thing about the Illini game during halftime. Until halftime, of course, go Illini.